So today what we are going to see is controller. How to work with LoadRunner controller. Now LoadRunner controller, when we are seeing about controller, there are two things that we need to learn. One, controller as a tool, and second one is execution using controller. How to execute our various types of tests using controller. So that's what we are going to see now. So we call this scenario execution. Here we call this scenario creation. So these are two things. So as a tool, when we learn, we'll see how to create the scenario for our test. It can be load test, it can be any type, load test, stress test, endurance test, any type. We saw in our class what are the different types of tests and what is the advantage of each and every type of a test. Now we will be creating this when we are learning about the tool controller. Once we create the scenario, we'll see how to execute the scenario. So these are two things that we are going to see. So first, let's learn about the tool controller. Now controller as such is divided into two types. Goal oriented scenario and manual scenario. So controller as such is divided into two types, goal oriented scenario and manual scenario. These are the two types in which the controller is divided. Now when we are looking into this, right, when we are looking into the goal oriented scenario or manual scenario, both perform different activities, but both finally do the scenario execution. Now, what is the difference between goal-oriented scenario and manual scenario? What is the difference? The goal-oriented scenario automatically does, or the controller automatically does all the things for you. So this is automatic. Controller takes care of all the settings for you. All you need to say is what you want to achieve. What you want to achieve. Now, when you tell this controller what you want to achieve, automatically the controller will do everything for you. But here, you have to set up everything. You have to set up everything. You can't tell the controller that this is what I want and the controller won't do anything for you. You have to set up everything. Now, when you look at the distribution of which is used more, this is used 2%, this is used 98%. 2% you will use this. Say in my career for 15 years career in software industry, we have used this not more than 10 or 11 to 15 times. That's all. In 15 years of my career. But this is what generically people use, because here you have more control on what you are achieving. Here you don't have the control because the controller automatically does. It's similar to driving a automatic car and a manual car. Similar to that. Here, I have to change the gear, I have to do everything. Here, I just have to press the accelerator, put it in drive and press the accelerator. When you press the brake, automatically clutch gets applied, automatically gear shifts down, everything it does. But this is only 2% being used, 98% it is with this controller or the manual scenario is what is being used. So first what we will do, we will see both. I'm not going to skip anything. We'll see both. We'll see what is a goal-oriented scenario and we will see what is a manual scenario. Okay. Now, first we will see goal-oriented. That's what the first thing what we are going to see is goal-oriented scenario. Now, goal-oriented scenario, right? When you are working with goal-oriented scenario, there are few things that you should know. Right. Now, when you are working with goal-oriented scenario, one, define the goal of the scenario. There are 5 types of goals that you can achieve. We will see one of them. Rest of the things I will explain how it has been done. So let's take a quick look into our controller and the goal-oriented scenario, how it looks. Now, in order to go to the controller, we go to Start, Programs, LoadRunner, Applications, Controller. Now, this is how the controller opens. Now, here, what you do, click on File, New. Now, this is to create a new scenario. If you already have a scenario created, go to File, Open. You can open the existing scenario. View, that is basically your taskbar and status bar. You don't want your status bar. See, below the status bar goes off. You don't want your taskbar. The taskbar goes off. So that's what for the view portion. Result, collate result. Nothing comes up now. Auto collate result is when the test is completed, automatically it will collate the result and save it for you. Leave this always open, enabled. Auto load analysis, that's a pain because once the test is over, it will collate and open the analysis tool for you. Give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, sorry guys. So now, auto load, this will automatically pop up the analysis tool, which is like pretty irritating. So don't just disable this option. We don't need this option. Tools, now you want to connect to quality center. You can connect to quality center. If your system is saved there, you can connect, but this particular version does not connect to. We have a latest version of quality center and an older version of controller, so it doesn't connect usually. Okay, it throws error messages when you are connecting. So then what else we have? Virtual user generator. You can launch your ViewGen from here. You can launch your analysis from here. Rest all is just history. Just forget about the other 2 options of what you want to connect time, runtime settings, all those things. Just leave it because we are going to do the same thing inside the tool. So now we don't want this option to be done outside the tool. So first thing what we are going to do, we're going to say file, new. Now a new scenario window appears like this. Now as soon as this scenario window appears, right, it will ask what you want, what type of scenario you want to create. So that's the first thing it will ask. Without that, it does not know what you want to do. Do you want me to be automatic or do you want to do everything? By default itself, if you see here, manual is by default selected. You see, manual is by default selected. Now, you have another one called the goal-oriented scenario. These are the two options that you have on the type of scenario you want to create. So now if you want to create a goal-oriented scenario, you can just go and check this option, goal-oriented scenario, select that option like this, select it, and then you can go and select the script. Now do you have to, see, you don't need to decide on the script now. You can do it inside also. If you know the script, you know what are all the scripts you want to put it in, you can do it here, or you want to do it later, you can do it later. Does not make a difference at all, right? Say example, I want to take this version 1. Now when I want to, I'll take with the one which says error handling. Now I wanted to take this script. Now with this script, if you want to add, I will add this. You want to say add multiple scripts, just put control and keep, no, multiple, it doesn't allow. So you have to add one at a time. So I'll just say add. So flight reservation, error handling script is what we are going to add. We have added this script. Now you wanted to add the script from the quality center, you can connect to quality center here, or you want to create this, record a script and add it, you can record a script here, or you want to browse and find a script, you can browse and find a script, or you don't want the script, you can just click on remove, it will remove from the scenario. So you can re-add it if you want, like this. Click OK, it will, now I am going to do goal-oriented scenario. So click OK. Let's wait for the scenario to get created. Give me 1 second. Now, this is how the goal-oriented scenario looks like. You have two tabs, design tab and the run tab. Now, design tab is what we were talking about, the tool. Tools and settings, everything is in the design tab. This is the tab where we are talking about the tool, the settings of that particular test, everything. Now, once we go into the run tab, here is where we do the execution. This is where we do the execution. Now let's go to the design tab and see what this design tab is all about. Now this tool, when you're looking at this tool, here is where you load, this is the location where you load your scripts. This is where you load your or add your scripts. Okay. Now here you say, what is the percentage distribution? Percentage distribution. This is where you're going to say which is your load generator. Load generator. We call this as LG. Now what is an LG? Let's talk about what is an LG and we will come back into this particular goal-oriented scenario. So in order to understand what is a load generator, we should understand what is the architecture. Architecture of controller. What is the architecture of controller? How does the controller run or behave or execute its test? Now, remember in that day one class I told you we have a person here who's going to say we have 10 persons. For example, if we don't have a tool, we have 10 people who's going to access the system, and we have a supervisor here who's going to keep the clock and going to give command to this run, start the timer, end the timer, and note it in a note down all the timing with the functionality names, right? So when they click on this, the request goes to the server and he gets the response back. Based on that, this guy controls and manages. Now this is the real life scenario, right? If you are running with, say, you want to test with 5 users or 10 users. Now if you want to test with 500 users, I cannot have 500 people here. So what happens? This physical person gets replaced by a virtual person, right? A virtual machine. So we call this as a virtual user. Now this physical person gets converted into a virtual user. Now, am I going to have 100 virtual user machines with virtual users? No. So this also is going to go. This also is gone. So what you did, you took Vugen and created a script. Now this is a file, correct? Now what you do, I'm going to take off this supervisor out, everything out. The server is going to remain as the server only. So that architecture of the application is still going to be the same. Now I'm going to have the controller here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this script that is created in Vugen and put it here. Now the controller, there is no physical machine which the controller can control and run the test, right? Before how it was, the machine was in front of the controller. Now what we are going to do, we are going to take this machine out and put it here. Now what will the controller do? The controller will talk to this machine, which is again a virtual machine, and this virtual machine will talk to the server. Right. Now this virtual machine will have the Vugen application open automatically and will run here. Yes.
Is that an agent that you were talking on the first day of performance testing?
Yes. That is what I'm going to. That is what I'm explaining. Yeah.
Okay.
So now what you will do, this system, this machine, right, is called the load generator. Depending upon how many load generators you have and how many scripts you have, you can configure those load generators to connect to the script. Say if I want to run 500 virtual users, how many load generators do you want? We will calculate this. There is a calculation for this. If I have 50,000 users, how many load generators? For 500, say if I'm using 2, 50,000 I can't use 2, right? So how do you calculate that? We're going to see that. We'll see how to calculate it. Now what will happen? This controller will talk to this load generator. How does it talk? How does it know that this is the load generator? There is another small packet called agent. Now you have to take this package or software and install it into this machine. Once the agent is installed, LoadRunner this machine will become visible for the LoadRunner or the controller. So now when you connect to this particular virtual machine, it will automatically connect because the agent is installed there. Once the agent is installed, it will be able to see that and it will be able to communicate to this machine. So what it will do, once you stay run, LoadRunner will take that script, download it into this machine, and then open at the backend, it will open virtual user generator and start executing the script. So now since the controller is controlling this execution, it knows what transactions are being executed, what transactions have been completed. It will note down in a database. Will note down in a database all the transaction names with the response time. But from here to here, the request is sent to the server and the responses come back. So this is how the architecture of the LoadRunner or the controller works. Any question, guys? Any questions on this? Any questions? Okay. Now, let's go back to our goal-oriented scenario. Now in the goal-oriented scenario, as I told you, This is where we put the script. Script name automatically comes up. We don't need to do anything. It will pick up the name of the script and put it here. This is where we provide the location where the script is. If we target, we provide how much percentage distribution, and this is where we connect the load generator, where this script should point to which load generator. Okay. Now, this is where we set the goal. This is where we set the goal. This is where the scenario goal is set. Scenario goal is set. This is where the scenario goal is set. This is just a preview of how your test is running. That's all. Nothing else. Can you see when I'm writing, is it flickering?
Yes.
The screen is flickering, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's because of my new the pen, right? I upgraded there was a new version of the pen came. I upgraded the version, and then it's becoming a big mess. I have to downgrade this now. Okay. Sorry?
No, nothing. I was like, the Epic pen was good. I mean, whatever it was using before.
Yeah, now it's a newer version of that.
Okay.
See, it looks different. It's more sleek, but unfortunately, when you write the whole page, see, it's flickering.
Yes.
Crazy it is. Okay. So now, in order to set the goal, first what we need to do, we need to download we need to download all the scripts or set the scenario of all the scripts here. So how do you set? So now I connected one script as soon as before I could launch the scenario. How do I do the second script? Now let's see how to do the second script. So when I'm here, I will click on the script path. With the moment I click on the script path, you'll see a download coming. I see a drop down. List all the scripts. If you're not confident with the path, go to browse, and this is the path where your LoadRunner scripts are. Where is my registration script? Yeah. I didn't do the registration script. Uh-oh. Where is the others? Registration V1. Here. Okay, that's okay. This is the registration script. Now I'll say open. Okay, so I have the registration script here. So now it is saying 50% here, 50% here. No, I don't want 50% of my script to run registration. What I will do, I want this to run say 90% and this to run automatically. You see here it took us 10%. So whatever load it is distributing, automatically 90% of the load goes to this and 10% of the load will go to this. Yeah.
How do we decide on that, Rajesh? Based on the
workload, and we
by the workload modeling. Okay.
Yeah, during the workload modeling, we would have decided on the distribution, right? How much percent distribution? Yeah,
okay.
That's the percentage here.
Okay.
Now you have the percentage. Now what type of scenario do you want to run? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first create a profile. So what I'll do, first I'll create a profile. This is an old profile that I created. So first I'm going to click on edit scenario goal. Now here I'm going to create a new profile. I will say QA batch 178 underscore. First I'm going to run transaction per second. So first I am going to take one scenario. I'm creating a scenario. We see here. Now in this edit scenario window, you have multiple options here. Let's see each and everything. This is where you create a scenario goal. Now define scenario goal. Now you have to tell what type of scenario you want to run. So there are 5 types of scenarios that are available. Virtual user, hits per second, transaction per second, transaction response time per second, and pages per minute. These are the things. The most commonly used is transaction response time per second. Okay, that's what we usually use. Now, what do you mean by this? Now here, what I'm going to say is that when I select, see example, I am going to click on this. I'm going to select my goal. I'm going to create a new scenario. I will say, let me do that QA batch 178 transaction time per second. Now I created a goal. Now, if you see here, virtual users, that is, I want to see whether my application can really handle 200 virtual users. Is it possible? So that can be a goal of mine. Or if my application can handle X number of hits. Hits is the number of requests that is going from the server, from the load generator to the server. If I can handle 200 hits per second, that is 200 requests are going to the server in 1 second, can my application process and give me the request? That's what is the hits per second goal. Transactions per second, that is, if I push, say, how much ever number I want to say example 50. And I wanted to say which transaction. Say example, the important transaction is secure purchase, right? Now for my secure purchase, if I hit 50 orders are coming at one shot, can my application handle that? That's the goal for the transaction per second. Usually we select this one, transaction per second, or this is the most widely used, transaction response time. So I'll say if my secure purchase for a minimum of 10 to a maximum of 1000 users, it should not reach, say example, 3 seconds. Let's put 1 second. It should not reach 1 second. That is, as the test is going on, it will slowly start from 10 users and reach up to 1000 users. When as it is reaching, the moment the response time touches 1 second, the test will stop at that point. So you will know that the moment 1000 users, or say example at the point where 300 users, my response time touches 1 second. That means your SLA is 1 second, and for 300 users, that's the maximum you can go up to in order to maintain your SLA. So you can run your test up to 300 users. So it will stop there. So what you want to do, how this says how long you want to run. I want to run for 30 minutes, fine, or 1 hour. It will run for that duration. If the target cannot be achieved, what should I do? Continue scenario without reaching the goal, stop the scenario and save the result. What do you want to do? That is, even after reaching 1000 users, what should I do? Still my application is not touching 1 second. What will I do? That's what it's saying. Continue the scenario without reaching the goal. That is, it will run till for the half an hour duration. Or stop the scenario and save the result. Usually, we click on this, continue scenario without reaching the goal. So what happens, even if the goal is achieved, it will continue till it reaches that half an hour mark. So we know, for say example 200 users, it reached the goal. It will stop at 200 users and continue the 200 users for half an hour. That's what it's going to do. Yep.
Sorry, Rajesh, could you, I didn't get that, the reach goal of 1 second for transaction response time. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, you're setting, see, what are you doing in your goal-oriented scenario? You are setting a goal, right? You're telling the LoadRunner that check for the transaction response time for this specific transaction. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It should reach, my goal is to reach 1 second.
So like in 1 second,
No, no. The goal is at what point is my transaction reaching 1 second? You got it? That means at that many number of users, that X number of users, you don't know how many users you need in order to reach transaction of 1 second, right?
You mean the transaction time?
Transaction response time.
Okay, so what we are trying to do here is having maximum of 1,000 users, and we are checking if the response time, secure purchase transaction completes within 1 second.
No, what I am doing here is I am going to set up a goal where I'm going to say that I want to achieve 1 second response time for this transaction that I am selecting.
So you mean it should take 1 second to to get to the next page, next transaction?
Up to 1 second.
Up to 1 second.
So my goal is I want to know when will that transaction reach 1 second. At what point? At how many users will it reach 1 second?
Okay.
You're not getting it, right?
No, let's do it, I guess.
So what I'm doing here, now say example, my SLA is 1 second for that particular transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they would have given you this saying that this particular response time should not exceed 1 second.
Okay.
They would have given you that. Now, when they give you that, you don't know at what point or how many users this particular transaction will exceed 1 second, right?
So I'm not getting what do you mean by how many transactions response. Sorry.
Okay, let me go over it again in a different way. Say example, I'm going to say when you have not yet done any test. Okay, you ran a performance test. Say example, you ran a performance test for 500 users.
Okay.
The secure purchase transaction is the main transaction there, correct? Do you agree to that?
Yes.
Yeah. That response time is say in 1.2 milliseconds.
Okay.
The SLA they have given is 1 second. It should not exceed 1 second.
Okay, the response time should not exceed 1 second.
Yes, the response time should not exceed 1 second.
Okay.
Now, how do you know at what point or how many users my system can sustain till it reaches 1 second? You don't know that, right?
You mean how many loads? How many users?
How many users or how much of load when I put onto the system, my response time will go up to 1 second. We don't know that, right?
Yes, yes.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the goal as response time, transaction response time.
Okay.
Select the transaction. Okay. And then I will say my goal is to achieve 1 second.
Okay.
That's my SLA.
Understood.
Yeah. Now what I will do, I will say run a minimum of 10 users to a maximum of 1,000 users. So what it will do, it will slowly ramp up, slowly keep increasing the number of users.
Okay.
To a point when that particular transaction reaches 1 second. The moment it reaches 1 second, for the controller it achieved its goal, correct?
Yes.
It does not know that the SLA is reached.
Yes.
For it, you said the goal is tell me when the response time reaches 1 second.
Okay.
Say example, when you reached 500 users, the response time started coming 1 second. Okay.
Okay.
Now when the response time is 1 second, what should I do? I've achieved my goal. Now what should I do? Stop the test and save the result, or continue scenario without reaching the goal?
But you said suppose in 500 users we reach it to 1 second. That means we have achieved our goal.
We have achieved our goal. You continue and finish the test for half an hour. We are running it for half an hour, right?
Okay. Yes.
Fine. Continue and complete the 1 hour. Say example, it ramped up to 1,000 users.
Okay.
And still you are not achieving 1 second.
Okay.
What should I do? Stop the test and save the result, or continue for half an hour?
Okay. Understood.
You understood. So it will do what? Either it will stop the test or it will continue for the duration you gave.
Okay.
Usually we click on this, continue for a duration.
Okay.
This is the common scenario that we select. Okay.
Hmm.
You getting me?
Yes, I understand now. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, what is the confusion? Have any questions?
Me?
Hmm.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So we give that continue scenario without reaching goal so that even if it goes beyond 1000, it will still accumulate until it reaches 1 second, right?
No, it won't go more than 1000.
Then,
Because you have given the maximum as 1000, right?
yeah.
So imagine it reached 1000 and it's still the response time is say half a second.
Okay.
What should you do? Continue the scenario till that time is reached.
That means what will it do, Rajesh? It will go and stop at 1000.
Yeah, it will stop at 1000. It will not increase more number of users, but it will keep the 1000 in and continue the test for half an hour.
So what are we trying to achieve by that? By just continuing without reaching, even when after the goal is reached?
What happens is that once, say, example, you have not reached the goal or reached the goal, at least I will know if for 1000 users in the system, how my application was behaving for 30 minutes, right?
Okay.
Okay, you don't achieve the goal. Still, at least I will know how my application was behaving for 1000 users.
So the industry standard is 1000 users only.
No. Default it was given. Depending upon the number of users, right? Depending upon your application, depending upon your load test, how many users you are running with load test, right? You would have, you say if you have achieved already your SLA in the load test, you won't even go to goal-oriented scenario. If you have not achieved, then say if you are running for 500 users as goal-oriented, your load test, you will come to goal-oriented scenario, you will put minimum 500.
Yeah.
And then maximum and into 2000. Or if you are running 1000 users, you will say minimum 1000 because you know at 1000 users my system is still performing good. Right? So minimum 1000, maximum 2000.
Oh.
You always multiply into 2. If 2000 is not there, then you say 2500, 3000, 3500, 4000. You will increase it 500. That's a safe way of doing it. You getting me?
Okay, just to observe how it behaves even after it has reached the maximum number of users.
Users, it's still just to see how the application is performing at that load. That's why we say continue without scenario without reaching the goal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Fine. Now, I'm going to say 10 to, I'm not going to run with 1000 users. I'm just going to run with say 50 users. Minimum of 10, maximum of this thing, my SLA, I will say it as 0.5 seconds. Okay? I'm going to say okay. Now I have two things. So 10, maximum 50. It's going to run for 30 minutes. Let's scenario, I'm going to change this. I don't want to run it for 30 minutes. We don't have so much time. So I'm going to run it for 5 minutes. 0.5. Run it for 5 minutes. I'll say okay. And let's keep it 30. We will stop it whenever we want. Okay. Now, what I will do, I'm done with it. I have to define the load generator. So I will select here. I'll click on add. Now here, this configuration they would have already done, or you would have installed. They will give you a virtual machine. You install the agent there and give the IP address. Currently, we don't have a virtual machine. So what we are doing is we are connecting to the controller itself. We are using the controller as the load generator. So how do you tell the controller that use your machine itself as a load generator, I will say local host. Local host. Local host means that is it uses the controller itself as a load generator. I have already have that, so I'll select this. I'll select this and I'll say OK. Now you see local host got added. Select this. Say OK. So with using the controller as the local host. Now click on generator. Now you see both are down. Now this is this I don't need, so I'll delete of this. My local host is down. So my local host is down. That means it's not yet connected. So I'll select this and say connect. See? Now it has to come as ready. That is, the controller has identified the agent and connected to that particular machine. So here the controller is the load generator and the controller is the same machine, so it is able to identify and connect, saying what type of machine it is. Okay. Now we click on detail. It will give you some extra details you can see about that machine. If it's a Unix machine, it's if you want to set some quota. Usually we don't use all those things. We don't use all these things. Just leave it as it is. Okay. Now what we can do, either we don't want, you can disconnect it. You want to remove it, you can say disable. So I have connected it. It's connected. That's also connected. Fine. Everything is connected. Now, before we run the test, right? Before we run the test, the other thing that we need to see is the runtime settings. Runtime settings is a very, very important concept. How do you go to the runtime settings? Right click on that particular, select this thing, right click and say runtime settings. Now, the runtime settings can be done in two ways. One, you can open the script itself. Say example, right click and say view script. It will open that specific script in using the virtual user generator. You see, it's opening the virtual user generator. Now here, let the script load. As soon as the script is loaded, you can launch the runtime settings through this, edit runtime settings, or you can go to vUser runtime settings or control or press function F4 runtime settings. Now this runtime settings, we went through this actions, right? Last time we went through this action, how to control the action, how to use this action. We went through what is pacing, we went through what is think time, how to work with pacing and think time. We also calculated how to control our request and response based on the think time, correct? We did that, right?
Yes, Rajesh, we did that.
At least one time you agreed to me. Okay. Now, we did this log. We did the log also, where we have to enable and disable. Now, what it is that whatever you do here, right? Whatever changes that you make here, sometimes it does not get reflected here. Sometimes it does not get reflected here. Okay. Sometimes it gets reflected, sometimes it does not get reflected. So always it is advisable, before you run the test, set up the runtime settings in the controller. Okay. Set up the runtime settings in the controller. Now, some common mistakes people do. Double click here. You'll get this window. Here, you see something called refresh. Now, I would have made some changes in the script. After the controller is loaded, there is some error coming up, so I went and fixed the script. People think that automatically that script will get pointed here. No. So you have to go here. If you make changes to the script, you have to go and refresh the script. That's one mistake people forget to refresh. Second, runtime settings. Never refresh your runtime settings. Okay? Never refresh. What happens? I'll show you. Let's open the script here. Let's open the script here. Now I'm going to the script runtime settings. I'm going to log and I'm changing it to send messages only when error occurs, extended log, parameter substitution. I'm going to pacing and saying fixed pacing of say 30 seconds. Okay. I just edited the log and the pacing. I didn't do anything on the think time. I'll save. Now I'll close the script. Now I have to refresh the script in order for the script to come here. So I'll double click. I'll go to details, refresh. And let me save the scenario. Now, right click on this particular script, go to runtime settings. See, whatever changes we made did not come here. See here, it did not come. We changed it here, right? But it did not get affected. Pacing, you see. I made the changes here. Again, I made the changes here. I'm going to give 40 seconds. 40 seconds think time. Okay. Pacing at 40 seconds. Think time I'm going to say as recorded. Log I changed it to this. I'll say simply I'll say send messages standard. Just for the sake. I'll say okay. Now that got saved. Now the common mistake that they do is sometimes when they are refreshing by mistake they'll refresh the runtime settings. Now when you refresh the runtime settings, what happens? Script 1 runtime settings get updated here. You see here, we made it standard, right? But it came to extended. Pacing, we made 40, changed to 30 because script runtime settings got implemented here. So you have to maintain the runtime settings in one place. Either decide to do it in the script or decide to do it in a scenario. Be careful. If you start doing it in 2 places and start refreshing, it's very, very confusing. So please do not do it in 2 places. Do it only in one place. Okay. Next, what we are going to see here, we saw this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to run logic. It's fine. Pacing, I'm going to say keep it as 30 seconds. This I'm going to say standard or send messages only error occurs. Here I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to multiply by 2. Miscellaneous. This we went through. We said that leave all the options. We saw what is a thread, what is a process. Remove this out. Never have these 2 checked. Remove these 2 checked because it will convert all the action as a transaction. We don't want that. We want only specific transactions that we mention to be recorded. I don't want anything else. So remove this. Speed emulation, I told you guys that we can specify any number of bandwidth. By default, we use maximum bandwidth. Browser emulation, I told you when we are running load test, this is disabled. Download HTML is disabled. When you are running stress test, this is enabled. If your controller, if your run logic init and user end is in init and end, then I can disable this option. So first uncheck this, uncheck this. Leave this option as it is. We don't have any proxy preferences, download preferences. This one, leave it as 120 seconds. If in case you get a step download timeout error, then go and increase this. That's all, we don't touch. Say okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. God, sorry. By mistake I clicked script. $30 seconds. Multiply by 2. Remove this option. Continue on error also should be unchecked. I should have nothing other than this thread enabled. Don't want these two options. Rest all, leave it as it is. Okay, so now I have done my runtime settings for both. Once I do this, this is all what we are going to do in our setting. Service to define an SLA, you want to do it, you can do it. That's a little tricky process, so just click on that. What do you want to define your SLA based on what? Average transaction response time, this is what we usually select. Next, which transaction you want to set your SLA to? Secure purchase, I'll select that transaction. Next, what do you want to do? Transactions per second pass, load criteria, transactions per second, less than load value, what less than equal to what load value you want to provide. Say, I would say 10. Greater than or equal to 10. Next. Apply the same thing to all transactions, you can apply. Usually this is a pretty tricky part, we don't use this much, so I'm not going to use this. I'm going to just leave it as it is. I'm going to just concentrate on the goal, whatever goal you have decided on. Now, once we do all these settings, that's all we do on the setting part. Now, going into the execution, I'll go to this particular window. Now, this window for a manual scenario or goal-oriented scenario looks the same. There is no difference. It looks exactly the same. Only the design window changes based on what type of scenario. If it's a manual scenario, this portion changes, design portion changes. If it's a goal-oriented scenario, manual scenario, only the design changes. Run window looks exactly the same. So we'll talk about the run window after we finish this. Okay. So guys, you are able to understand what I did in the scenario. You are able to understand. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. So this target changed, so I'm going to change the target back to 90 here and leave that as 10. Fine. Rest all is the same. I'm going to save it. Now, this is what we do in the scenario. Similarly, if you wanted to change for another one, say edit goal, you wanted to change it from response time to transactions per second or pages per minute or V users, you want to see whether my application can reach or sustain a specific number of V users. If say 50 V users are hitting the application, how will my application behave? Select the V user. If you want to change the scenario, you can go and change the scenario too, saying that if 50 users are hitting the application, will my application be able to sustain? So this is how we design the scenario for a goal-oriented scenario. Now we'll see how to design the scenario for a manual scenario, and then we will see how scenario execution for goal and scenario execution for manual is. So let's see how to design a scenario for a manual scenario, and then we will come back and do the execution. Till this, no questions, right? Fine. So I'm going to close this. Say close. Now let's see how to design a manual scenario. So again, I'm going to click open. Here I'm going to select manual scenario. Now manual scenario, again the same thing. I'm going to select the script you want to add. I'll say OK. Now manual scenario window looks completely different. The design window looks completely different from the goal-oriented scenario. Now let's see what is this. Now again, in the manual scenario, clean this up. Again in the manual scenario, this is the portion, this portion is the same what we did in the goal-oriented scenario. This is the same. No difference. Okay, here is where we load the script. The group name gets automatically added. This is where we provide the number. Instead of percentage, we are providing how many users we want to run and the load generator here. Now providing the number of users depending upon again two types. So your manual scenario is divided into two types of scenarios. So looking at the manual scenario, manual scenario is divided into two types of scenarios. One is called a scenario and next is group. So now if you are creating a manual scenario, you have to select how do you want to create this. You want to create as a scenario or you want to create as a group. Now once you create this is again split into different types. Real life, scenario and run until completion. Same here, again real life and run until completion. Both the names are the same. Now you want to go to real life scenario through scenario or through group. You have to decide what is the difference between these two, right? Let's see what is the difference between these two. If I explain, you will not understand. You have to see what the difference is. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to add one more script. I have added these two scripts. Automatically it's putting 10 users. By default it's just putting 10 users by default. We can change it. Now if you see here, scenario, schedule by scenario or schedule by group. And you have real life scenario and run until completion. Now schedule by scenario means that everything runs together. You see here both run together. So if I set up saying that I want to run 50 users. Say example, double click on this and I want to say start with 50 users. So what it will do? It's going to start with 50 users. So what it's going to do? It's going to start 2 user every 15 seconds. You can change this. 2 user by default it's going to start 2 user every 15 seconds. Two users are going to go into the system till it reaches 50 users. When I say apply, you see here 2 till it reaches 50. Now it is automatically distributing this here 25. It's automatically distributing the load. Now this one is difficult to change if you want to change the distribution for one script. If I want to change the distribution for say for this 50% or I want to, out of 50 users I want 40 users to this and 20 users to this, it's going to be a tough task adding this because both will get automatically distributed. While if I go to group and real life scenario, I can specify each and every script how much I want. So if I see here, every script has a group that is being assigned to. So each and every script is a separate group. Now I'll select this. I will say I want 40 users for this. Now you see, for this script it's gone up to 40. The second script, you see here, the one in green, it's only 10 users. So I can say how many scripts I want. I want to say only 10 users for this script. I leave it as 10 users. You see here, this script will go in fast, run for 5 minutes, and then end in 6 minutes. The other script will take 13 minutes to get completed. That is the difference between scenario as a group and scenario as a scenario. So now, schedule by scenario, both will get automatically distributed. Now, if I want to change that, the distribution, right, in the scenario, by scenario, you see here it got changed, you see? It got changed. The percentage of distribution for this got changed. How did it happen? I went into goal, I changed in the goal, right, I changed in the goal, and when I came back to scenario, that percentage is still retained. So, 40 user and 10 user. You are getting me? Guys, you are able to understand. Now you see here, when I select this, look at this. Schedule, global schedule, it's not changing. It's still the same. Yep.
Yeah, so Rajesh, so if we want to change the distribution, first we choose group, change it, and then we can choose scenario back.
Doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work. You see here, it is not showing. It is still going as 50 users. Now this is only 10 users, but where is it starting into this? When you go into schedule by group, you see here, after 10, it has to go into start running the script, right?
Yeah.
It's not showing here, see. So that's not the right way to do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Fine. Now, yeah.
Rajesh, so do we generally go by group? We don't do the scenario? Schedule by scenario?
We usually go by schedule by scenario, not by group.
Oh, not by group. Okay.
Yeah, because if it's group also, what happens is individually I have to assign unless and until there is specific requirement for this. What happens is, you see here, now if I schedule by group, I said 40 users for this and 10 users for this.
Yeah.
Now, I'll talk about what is this pyramid type of structure, I'll talk about it. But if you see, this script will be over in 6 minutes itself.
Yeah, that will take time.
That will take, so I don't have the full load in the system. You saw?
Right.
All the transactions has to run simultaneously for me to generate load in the system.
Yeah, until the end, right.
Until the end. You can do that by changing the time. But it's a hectic process. So this is starting, right? Now this is starting at the same time, but it is going here and ending fast. So what I will do, I will say instead of this group, start group immediately for the second script, I'll go here and say start after. When is this starting? Around what? How long it's taking? It is taking almost 1 minute, 1 second to log in, right? 1 minute to all the users to be in the system for 10 users.
Right.
Right. So what I'll do is start after, when is this coming up? It's coming up almost 4.5 minutes. So I'll say start after, not hour. 1, 2, 3. Just it's a trial and error method. So apply and see. You see it's moving.
Right.
Right. But it's still not there. So I'll say 4. Almost
So it has to
there.
align, is it?
You have to sit and align. If in case you have 40 scripts, are you going to sit and align all those scripts?
No, it won't be possible.
It won't be possible. It's very difficult. So we don't work on this type of a scenario. We only do when there is a requirement where you want to run some, say some places. Okay. Say example, this script only. In order to log into the application, you need user IDs.
Yeah.
Registration creates the user IDs.
Yeah.
So what we will do is, we will print the output of this particular script, that is the registration script, into a DAT file and connect the DAT file to your login script.
Okay.
Okay, so what I want to do is, I wanted to start my registration script slightly after my or I want to start my first my registration script to run to generate some user IDs, and
then you
5 minutes I want to start my other script so that it picks up all the new user IDs that got generated. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is what we try to do here. That is where we use this type of scenario where we will first start the registration script,
First, okay.
and then we will say, okay, fine, after 5 minutes start the reservation script.
Okay.
So that it will go to the registration script, take the new users that got generated and start using that for reservation.
So here the load won't be together, right? The registration will be done first and then the reservation comes, right?
No, what we will do, I will extend the registration time, registration time till this.
Okay.
Ends.
Okay.
But
So
the
there
registration will start little early itself.
Okay.
Because I wanted some user IDs, right?
Yeah.
At that time we will use the group. Otherwise we always use the scenario.
Okay.
You getting me? So now in the scenario, in order for me to change this setting, right, where I wanted to say how many users that I wanted to put for a specific script. How many users I want to put for a specific script, it's pretty difficult to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So what do I do? How do I do that? So we go to goal, change it in the goal.
Okay.
And come back
then
to
you move it to scenario. Okay.
So now you see 40 and 10. Getting me?
Yeah.
Now real life is that it will run in the way we set it up. So what is this structure? What is this pyramid? Okay, thank you. Let me mute. What is this structure all about? Let's see what is this structure. Now when I'm running the test, there are 3 things that we need to note. Let me change the color. It's still the same color. So I'll change the color to blue. This is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. And this is 3. Now what is this? This is called ramp up. This is called steady state. Steady state. And this is called ramp down. So remember guys, this is called ramp up, steady state, and ramp down. Now what do you mean by ramp up, steady state, and ramp down? Let's take a quick look into that. Ramp up is how the users log into the system. Steady state is how long the load should remain in the system. How long the load should remain in the system. Ramp down, how the users should log out of the system. How the users should log out of the system. So comparing to these, so ramp up, steady state, and ramp down. Steady state is usually by default for load test and stress test. Industry standard 1 hour. Industry standard is 1 hour. For endurance test, minimum is 8 hours. It goes up to 48 hours. 8 hours is the minimum for endurance test. Now steady state is how long you want your load to remain in the system. For load and stress test, it is 1 hour. For endurance test, it is 8 hours. Ramp up, how the users how the users should log into the system. Say example, during a normal business day, you know that, right? People start logging into the system at 8:30 a.m. Slowly people will start logging into the system. By around 9 o'clock, 9:30, all the users will be in the system. So in production also, you will see that from 8:30, you will see slowly people logging into the system. From 9:30 to say 11 o'clock, it will be steady, all the users will be working. 11 o'clock, you will slightly see down. Then it will stay like this. Then by 12 it will go more down, 12 to 1, and then 2 o'clock it will start picking up till 5 o'clock. So this is how the entire day's load will be on the system. So we don't want, if I'm running for 500 users, I don't want all the 500 users to bombard the system at the same time. That's not production like scenario. So what we will do, usually we will ramp 2 user every 5 seconds, depending upon the number of users. Okay, so we'll use say 5 user every 10 seconds or 10 user every 15 seconds, depending upon how the system can take the load. If you are ramping up 5 user every 10 seconds and the system is slowing down, then don't use this. Use 2 user every 5 seconds. So depending upon how your system can take, we decide on the ramp up rate. Okay. For example, one of the projects that we work with 3,500 users, but it can take only 2 user every 15 seconds, not more than that. Sorry, 5 user every 15 seconds. So what happens is 1 hour and 40 minutes of the test goes just ramping up the user. Then we run a 1 hour steady state. Then we bring the users down. So the test only goes for 3 total hours. Because 1 hour, it takes 1 hour and 40 minutes it takes for the users to go into the system. Yeah, you have a question?
No, so this number and all is decided just by trial and error, is it, Rajesh? Depending on the application?
No. This number is usually decided when we are doing the workload, right?
Oh,
He will give you, we asked for 8 hours of log, right?
Mm.
So when in the log you will see that between 8:30 to 9:30, there will be less number of log.
Yeah.
From 9:30 to 12 o'clock, the logs will be higher.
Yeah.
After 12 to 1, it will be lesser. So between 9 to 10, right? Between 9 to 10, you will see how many requests have come.
Oh, okay.
You getting me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
I can hear you, Rajesh.
Hello.
Yeah, Harshad.
Karthik, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I think it got off.
No, my headphones has a mute unmute, and by mistake I think it got pressed. Yeah.
Okay.
So when you're looking at your system from production log, you will see that say from 8 to 8:05, how many requests were there?
Okay. Probably
You're getting me?
2 or 3. Yeah.
So it will be like 10 requests or 15 requests.
Mm.
So you know that there is a minimum number of users that we have to put in. Correct?
Yeah.
So based on that, you just decide, calculate and see whether your application, how the application is able to handle that particular load that you are pushing in per second. Or the login number of logins that are happening per second.
Okay. Okay.
So it's basically it's a little trial and error method, as you said.
Okay. Thank you, Rajesh.
Okay. Yeah. So now once we get this, so that is what we start working on the ramp up. Then you say how many users you want to log out. Log out usually don't bother about logging out with lesser number of users or larger number of users. You can just use, say, usually what we give 30 users. If it's a larger number of users, 30 users every 30 seconds or 10 seconds, 30 users. Ramp it out faster. That's all. Nothing to worry about the log out portion. Usually that we don't take it into consideration, only the log out portion. Guys, you are able to understand what we are talking about, ramp up, ramp down and steady state. You are able to understand this? Any questions? Any questions? Fine. So now when we are looking at this ramp up, ramp down and steady state, you see that 55 users, I am running 50 users, 2 users every 15 seconds. So it is almost taking 6 minutes for the users to get into the system. If I increase, it will automatically change. Say example, 5 users every 15 seconds. You see here, within 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, all the users are in the system. I leave it as it is. 5 users every 15 seconds. I'm going to leave it as it is. Log out, I'm going to give simultaneously. Just bring all the users down. I'm not bothered. So now my test total will run for 7 minutes, where 2 minutes it will push all the 50 users, then run for 5 minutes, and then bring all the users down. This is how usually we schedule it. Now this is what we do on a day-to-day basis. What do you mean? What is this run until completion? What is this run until completion? Now, when you're sometimes, right, some people, they don't believe in running, some testers don't believe in setting up the scenario for 1 hour duration. They want to give iterations. So, what they will do, if I want to achieve, say, 700 and 800 transactions, we did that calculation, right? In order to achieve, say, 800, 700 or 800 transactions, we they run 1 iteration of that particular application or that particular script. What is the total time? It's 6 transactions. So in order to achieve 8 transactions, how many iterations I need to run? So they put the number of iterations. Where do they put the number of iterations? They go here, select it as run until completion, then go to runtime settings, go to run logic and provide here the number of iterations. So what will happen? How many iterations that you provide here? Say we are giving 600 iterations. The test will run for that many number of iterations. The test will run for that many number of iterations. You see here, it will run for that many number of iterations. It will ignore, you cannot provide the hour here. But if I select real life scenario, what will happen is, it will ignore the iterations. It will automatically ignore this because it's going to run for 1 hour. So this is going to iterate for 1 hour. You put 600,000 or 1 won't make a difference when you are running for 1 hour or providing 5 minutes time. It's going to run for 5 minutes. It's not going to take into consideration. Now here, when we are looking at this ramp up state, when you're looking at the ramp up state, this is where your init portion runs. That is your login. This is where all the actions get executed. This is where your vUser end runs or your logout. So this is how, that's why I tell you to split the script based on this. Split the script into vUser init, action and end. So you put your launch and login portion in your vUser init. You put your all the rest of the transactions in actions, and we put our vUser end in or logout in the vUser end. So that this is where it gets executed. Guys, you are able to understand? Any questions? You able to understand? Yep.
Even if we have so many actions, any number of actions, will it be the steady state?
Yeah. If you say activation, it will, if I have 10 actions, 2 iterations, what will do?
Okay.
Run action 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 once. Then again it will start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So one iteration means all the actions running once is one iteration.
Yeah.
So when you are running for 5 minutes, it will continuously keep running those actions 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10.
Okay.
You're getting me? Till 5 minutes. The moment it hits 5 minutes, say example the script is in action number 5 and it is reached 5 minutes. What it will do, it will not stop. It will complete 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and then it won't start again 1. It will log out.
Okay, because you said run until complete, right?
No, I said run for 5 minutes.
Okay.
You don't use this run until completion. We use the real life scenario.
Okay.
Okay? You're getting me?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions, guys?
I have a question.
Yep.
So where did we say for how long it should run?
Here.
We only said the ramp up, right? Oh, the duration. Okay.
Duration.
Got it. Okay.
The duration, I say how long I want to run.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. And that depends on what kind of testing we're doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Usually we give it 1 hour for load and stress test. For endurance, we give 8 hours.
So Rajesh, generally we use only scenario and real life schedule. That only those 2 options.
Those 2 options. This is what we usually use. Any other questions, guys? Yep.
Why the graph is different on the ramp up and it's different on the ramp down?
The reason is because in the ramp up I said 2 user every 15 seconds.
Oh, okay.
In ramp down I said 5 user every 30 seconds.
Oh,
so it's going down fast.
Oh, this is going down. Okay.
Okay, so ramp up I'm going to change it as 5 user every 15 seconds. You see?
Yeah.
Okay. Smaller. Ramp down, okay, simultaneous. You see?
Okay.
I changed from 16 minutes to 7 minutes.
Oh, okay.
You got it?
Yeah. Yes, I got it.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? What?
Sorry, Rajesh, by mistake I typed something.
Okay. Fine. So that is what the design of a scenario is all about. Okay. That is all what we are going to see about designing the scenario. That's all simple. Number of users and their distribution, provide that here, and that is all what we are going to do in the design of the scenario.